it's really like setting a boundary with what you will and will not tolerate in your life. And we are taught to chase money and social status and that validation from society that we are doing a good job. And that, like, if all of these people like us, then we must be doing something right. But none of that is worth anything if we don't like ourselves.
That's so true.
Like, it
That's
really is
very well
not. Like,
said.
I'm at this point where my business is taking up a little bit of steam. I'm starting to get noticed a little bit more. Um, and it's, you have to ask yourself the question, like, how do I want to be remembered? And I'm not going to be remembered as the person who, like, accepts a paycheck or accepts a brand partnership if it means sacrificing the mission that I'm on, which is to put the power back in the hands of hardworking people. It's not going to happen. But that's
No, that's so well said. So when you have these clients and you said the trends, right, that you're hearing, and I would imagine they're pretty consistent. They all resonated with me. So I know it's a process, right? And this is why people have you coach them. But like, how do you get them started to think in a different way? Because I think that's the problem. I think people could listen to this and they could be like, oh yeah, I should probably understand my values. And yeah, I don't like my job. I would really like doing this. But all those questions come up. And then
Mhm.
without like help, there's like no thought pattern or process to be like, well, what would it look like if I went and worked in a different field or at a different job or tried something new? And so how do you start people down that path?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the very first exercises that we do is we look at the entire trajectory of their career and we map out the highs and the lows. So, what year were you doing this? What went well? What didn't go well? And usually at the high points, there are values and skills and strengths being expressed. And at the low points, there are values, skills, and strengths that are being suppressed. So we start to try and look for the themes and inconsistencies among everything. And then we talk about, we do it as a genius session, which is basically like, outside of your skills and the technical things that you are good at, how do you work best? So these are the things that you feel most engaged by and energized by, and when you enter into a state of flow in your work. And when we look at all of those things from a bird's eye view, we can usually find that 5 or 6 different career paths that you could pivot into that are based on who you are, rather than just like the skills that you are used to looking for in job descriptions and what job title do I search for. And then from there, we essentially microdose the experience of what it would be like to work in any of those tabs by talking to people who are doing those things, understanding what the pros and cons are, shadowing somebody for a day, taking on a volunteer project or a part-time role to say, do I even like this before making
Mm,
that transition? And then they've had what people said, instead of, yeah, this sounds good on paper, let me jump ship. Let me go back to school,
right.
spend a ton of money to go do this. And then 6 months down the line, be like, well, shit, I'm in the same exact
Right.
situation again. So it takes a little bit of time up front to ask yourself some of those internal questions. But when you do that work, it gives you more freedom, in my opinion, in your career to say, like, you know what, I could do this for a couple of years. If it doesn't work out, I have like these 5 other things that I would be excited to pivot into because it's a unique expression who I am. So like it releases the pressure of permanence in our
I
career,
like that.
and really our career should evolve as we change. Like, I think I would be really bored if I was doing what I was doing when I graduated college.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that's one of the reasons I asked that question at the beginning of each episode, because I always find it fascinating. So I had an author on probably my third or fourth episode after I launched, and she had written a book about grief, and it was her journey of wanting to be a writer when she was a kid. And shout out to Steph Sarazin. It was her. She wanted to be a writer, and then as she got older and she wanted to be a writer, people were telling her you're not going to make any money. So the society and the pressure like whittles people down into the capitalism path. And
Mhm.
sometimes you can find that red thread, and that's really cool, right? Like yours, I get because mine is similar. Like I always wanted to be creative, and my ideas were going to be what were important, not me as a person. And I ended up in marketing, but it was the storytelling piece of marketing that lights my
Mhm.
brain up, right? So
Yeah.
it's that creativity piece of it that like, and I think those stories are so cool. But so many times people end up in that marketing job or that HR job or whatever that is, and it's just because it was what that was there and the
Hmm.
first maybe job that opened up, and they
Yeah.
don't actually have any investment in that. And I
Yeah.
don't mean to pick
Well,
on HR because I think those people actually probably have more investment and empathy than a lot of the other departments. But
yeah, I mean, they represent a lot of the company though, when shit gets real. I know layoffs happen. But like,
yeah,
even hearing you say about what you enjoy about marketing, right? Storytelling. So we have to ask ourselves why we enjoy certain things. And there's a red thread of the storytelling aspect and you enjoying podcasts and human connection and like that is already a theme that you can identify and say like, all right, human connection and storytelling. What are other things here that can help me express that? And that can become a meme, and we can get back to that childhood sense of wonder before society was like, oh, you can't do
that's
that
not going
because
to
there's
work
no
for
money in
us.
that. Yeah.
Capitalism says that's not going to work for me.
Yeah, yeah. But like if we can reject that notion and like say, you know what, no, I'm gonna find something that reflects who I am and I can find joy in that, and I know what enough looks like, and I can get off that hamster wheel of like constantly hustling it and never being enough. Like it is enough for me. I'm good. I don't need society's validation anymore because like I feel
Yeah,
that aliveness within myself. No one's gonna take that from me.
I love that. And I do want to dive into hustle culture in a second. But one of the things that I've really been coming to terms with lately is that at the end of the day, I never feel like, I don't know, how do I feel like the day's ending, but I feel like my mind isn't ending. And
Hmm.
honestly, like I will argue this till the day I die. When you're thinking about work, you're working.
Hmm.
So it is, you're thinking about what you've got to do, you're thinking about what you did, whatever that is. That should be, that kind of reflection should be built into the workday. But we have this hustle culture, we have this productivity. Um, I'm almost saying it's like a stigma around productivity now, where if you're not doing a task,
Hmm.
then you're not being productive. And I have that thought. I'm speaking from someone who needs time to reflect with their job and doesn't take it. So
Yeah.
hypocrite. But I think the
I
role
don't
or
think
the
it's
concept of
hypocritical.
productivity.
It's not
Okay.
hypocritical. I think that systems of oppression thrive on dehumanizing people. And part of that dehumanization says that if you are not producing, or using another way to power to provide something of value and work, then you don't have value.
That's
They were
very
like, how do
true.
I how do I rest in a way that's more productive? Like, we all do that, but it's like if I can let myself be still for like 5 minutes, that in itself is like a mini act of resistance against some of these systems that tell me that I am not good enough.